Another pedophile also being sentenced, ironically, actually more than Ghislaine Maxwell. Throw this up there on the screen. R. Kelly actually sentenced to 30 years in prison for the scheme to lure children into sex. You know, I really do think this is so crazy because the first time this came out to light, Krystal, was 22 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
R. Kelly has been a known pedophile and well, look, he's been known to be committing these horrific sex crimes for 2 decades. And the basic response was, yeah, he's weird, but he's super famous.
He's famous.
And his music is good.
People
and
kept collaborating with him.
The feds and the cops totally let him off the hook. Like you said, you know, everybody in the entertainment world was like, yeah, R. Kelly's a weird guy. You know, he does this and this, but whatever. You know, he makes great music. And they just moved on. And it's really disgusting. Look, I'm very, very happy that he's been convicted here. 30 years is a just sentence, absolutely. And especially if you guys have watched the documentaries or any of the other stuff, he is truly a monster. He's a monster. Yeah, there's no other way to describe it. The way he turned these poor teenagers against themselves and the parents and many more. I just do think, though, if you compare the trial of R. Kelly to Maxwell, I mean, consider it. The government called 45 witnesses, including 11 victims. You know, the jurors were confronted with the audio and the video, and they went back decades, and they really did a better job, frankly, here on R. Kelly.
Yeah, it was a much more
versus Maxwell.
Fulsome picture of his crimes.
Right, and when you consider that in the same vein, you're like, man, they could have hit Maxwell with the same case, and they didn't even try.
Yeah, and so you can't really blame the judges who were sentencing based on what's presented to them. But yeah, the prosecution in Maxwell's case, you know, went for this much more narrow focus versus R. Kelly. They, you know, really tried to put forward a full picture of just how abusive he was over decades to so many women and girls.
Yep.
To your point about, listen, it was back in 1994 that Vibe magazine reported on his illegal marriage to Aaliyah, who was 15.
Yeah. Right.
So we have been knowing this about R. Kelly literally for decades.
That's actually that's like what, 28 years ago.
For decades we have been knowing. 15 years old, he illegally marries Aaliyah. And according to the documentaries, because they thought she was pregnant, and this would, you know, you would need at that age parental consent to get an abortion unless your husband provided the consent. So according to the documentary, that's why he married her, to try to get her an abortion. I mean, it's so dark and sick. And then the other piece of this, it's not just like it's not only the the sex acts and the rape and it's so much of him was about the control too. The way that he would manipulate and exploit his fame to get these young girls to trap them. I mean, that's really what would happen, to trap them and hold out the promise of fame and stardom and I'm gonna make you a thing, and then completely manipulate and control and abuse these girls and women. It is horrific what he did to them. And so it is good to see a little bit of justice here. But I mean, the connective tissue between both of these cases is the way that Epstein and R. Kelly use their fame, wealth, power, status to enable this criminal, predatory behavior for decades. And polite society looked the other way.
Everybody in Hollywood who wrecked this guy and made a lot of money is all just, we're looking right over there. Classic story.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.